Hey guys, Exploit here, back again with another video, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to exploit WPA or WPA2. Alright, now again, this is something that I realized was not on the channel. I did really have not focused on cracking wireless networks, and I was thinking of starting off with WEP, but I then realized that WPE has become almost obsolete after, the arrival of WPA, and you'll rarely ever see a network that uses WPE as their means of security. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to use Aircrack NG to capture packets, obviously to capture packets, and then to capture the WPA handshake, which can then be used with a word list to perform a brute force attack, or a word list or a dictionary attack, and obviously to get the password. Now, again, I'm also going to be using airgeddon, which again is a fantastic tool, or as I like to call it, a framework that makes penetration testing or wireless penetration testing a whole lot easier. So we're going to be looking at actually performing the Pixie dust attack with airgeddon using bully. Alright, but first I'm going to show you how to use Aircrack, how to capture packets, how to store them in a capture file or a .cap file, not really a .pcap file, but then I'm also going to be moving on to show you how to select monitor mode, how to select your adapter and change it to monitor mode, and finally I'm going to show you how to use Aircrack NG to crack the password. That being said, let's get started. So for those of you who don't know, let me just explain it really quickly. WPA is essentially, it stands for Wi-Fi protected access, and it is a security protocol that was introduced in response to the weaknesses that WEP had. Alright, so it's really improving upon WEP's authentication and encryption features, and that's what I was talking about. WPE was able to be cracked within minutes. It was unbelievable, and that's why they had to introduce another protocol that made networks more secure. And the WPA is quite secure, but it's not the most secure, and is quite secure, but it's not the most secure, and that's with the introduction of WPA3, which is also something I'm going to be really focusing on in the future once the new routers are released, which are set to be later this year. So I can't believe that it's finally out, and I'm really excited to get started with it. That being said, hopefully this video acts as a final resolve to cracking our WPA. So it's essentially going to cover everything. Alright, let's get started now with Aircrack NG. Alright, but before that, I just want to talk about your wireless adapter. Alright, so my wireless adapter is currently connected right now. If I go to VM and I go into removable devices, you can see that I have my Atheros USB device connected. And I just want to take a few minutes to talk about wireless adapters, because this is something that people get really mistaken with. You need a good wireless adapter for Wi-Fi penetration testing. It's no secret, and it's the truth. I don't know whether you've tried performing packet injection with your laptop Wi-Fi card, but it just doesn't work, and the success rate is minimal. You can't expect to crack a wireless network with a small little TP link, or, well, I'm not saying I'm actually using the TP link, but using the onboard Wi-Fi adapters that come in laptops. It's just not possible. Now, coming back to the correct adapters to be using, I looked at the TP-Link and the Alpha cards, and in my opinion, the TP-Link is the best one out right now. The TP-Link TLWN722N version 1, because version 1 is the only one that contains the Atheros chipset, which again is awesome for packet injection. You can also try the Alpha ones, but the Alpha ones were also, I would say in my mind, mediocre. Not that they're bad, but they'll get the job done. The TP-Link one is extremely fast. I've been using it for a while now, and it really does work wonders. That being said, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to actually enable monitor mode on your wireless adapter. Alright, so make sure it's connected, and I'm going to type in iwconfig to show us our wireless interfaces. And my Wi-Fi adapter is already in monitor mode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable monitor mode, and you can also do this by typing m1ng stop LAN0mon. That is the name of the interface in monitor mode, and I'm going to hit enter. Alright, and it's going to disable monitor mode. So now let me show you how to enable it. So if I type in iwconfig again, you can now see that it's not in monitor mode, and you can see that right over here. It's saying that the mode is managed. Now, for those of you who are wondering, what exactly does monitor mode mean? Why do we need to even change it to monitor mode? Well, monitor mode essentially means that your wireless adapter will go into promiscuous mode. What does that mean? Well, it means that your wireless adapter is now able to read packets that do not belong to that computer. All right. So what do I mean? What this means in essence, or simply means, is it can read packets that are being sent to any device that's around this wireless adapter. It doesn't matter whether there's different wireless networks. It doesn't matter how many clients there are. It's going to capture all of that as long as it's within the range. All right. So it's very important that you enable monitor mode, because most of the attacks will require monitor mode. In fact, monitor mode is essential. So to do this, we use the AirmonNG. It is part of the Aircrack suite. So AirmonNG, and we hit start. All right. Remember, you can also stop it if you want. And now we select the interface name, which is currently LAN 0, WLAN 0, and I'm going to hit enter. All right. And it's going to change it for us. So now if I clear and type in iwconfig, we can see that the monitor mode is currently on, and you can look at that in mode, which is currently showing us monitor. And the frequency is 2.4 gigahertz. Now again, penetration testing on 5 gigahertz is slightly different, and that will require a special hardware, but I'll also get into that on the channel. I really won't focus on cracking wireless networks as well, because it is quite fun. So let me just clear this up. Now, before we move on, I just want to point something out. Most of the other videos on YouTube really they have no meaning whatsoever, because they're essentially promising you that you can crack Wi-Fi with any Wi-Fi adapter, and that's not the truth. I can guarantee that to you. That being said, I just wanted to say that now we've enabled monitor mode. Now we need to start capturing data. We need to start capturing data and packets from the access points around us. So we need to start seeing what access points are around us, and then we'll select the access point that we want to crack, or we want to get the WPA handshake from. Okay, and we can do this using the aerodump ng. So aerodump ng, and now we select the interface name, which is in monitor mode, which is WLAN 0 mon. All right, and I'm going to hit enter. Now this is going to display the Wi-Fi networks that are around the wireless adapter, or around you, and I'm going to be blurring the ones that aren't mine, or if I capture mine immediately, then I'm going to stick to that. So I'm going to hit enter, and I'm just going to hit Control C, like so, and you can let it run, and it's going to start capturing the Wi-Fi networks that are around you. By default, this is the network that I'm going to be performing the test on. As you can see, it is my router. It's called Alexis Broadlink, and let's start off with what each of these sections mean. All right, I'm going to just cover the most important bits. So let's start off with the BSSID. This is the MAC address of the router. Very, very important. This, in fact, should be, you should actually be copying this immediately. The next thing is the power, which is essentially the strength, the signal strength that you currently have, which is not bad. We have 41. You then have the beacons. This is the beacons being sent, quite self-explanatory. You then have the channel of the Wi-Fi network. Again, something very important. This is the channel on which the wireless network is running on. You then have the encryption type, which is WPA2. You then have the authentication, which is PSK, which stands for pre-shared key, which means, the security of the network is determined by a pre-shared key, also known as a Wi-Fi password. And you have the ESSID, which is the name of the network. All right, awesome. So Alexis, you've told us how to find the wireless networks around you. Remember, I stopped the scan as soon as I got the one that I wanted, because I do not want to start scanning devices, other Wi-Fi networks, and I really don't want to go through the trouble of blurring all of that out. All right. So once you've captured or you've actually spotted the network that you want to perform the test on, just hit Ctrl+C. And it's going to stop. Now make sure you have this data in plain sight, because we're going to need it. So what we're going to do now we need to start capturing packets that are being sent to and from on this network. All right. So now we need to focus on this network. So we need to select it. So essentially what we're doing now is we're saying only focus on this MAC address or this access point. Do not focus on the other ones. So it's going to start scanning the network, and it's going to display it's going to start displaying all the clients connected to that network, and I'll show you that in a few seconds. So we can do that by typing aerodump ng. All right, so aerodump ng, And now it's going to say we need to essentially specify the BSS ID. So you can say BSS ID, which is done by BSS ID, and you want to copy the BSS ID of the access point, and we're going to paste that in there. And now we need to select the channel, which you can do like so, or you can just abbreviate with a C, but I like having it as channel. By the way, you can use channel and BSS ID where it doesn't matter what comes first, it will still work just the same. Alright, so the channel is channel 2, so I'm going to specify the channel is 2. Now what else do you need to specify? Well, now you need to specify the wireless access, the interface name, which is LAN 0 mon. Alright, and I'm going to hit enter. And now as you can see, it's going to start capturing data that is on that network, that is being sent on that network. And if I just open up my phone, right now, my Nexus device, you'll start seeing the MAC address. There we are. This is my MAC address of my Nexus. So let me just open up a website here really quickly. So let me just open up a website here, and you'll start seeing the data is already being captured. You can see the frames has started increasing. There we are. And the frames will show you the amount of data being sent, or the amount of whether or not that device is active. This is very important because to capture the WPA handshake, we need a device that is active on the network. Otherwise, it'll take too long. All right. Awesome. So now we are capturing the data, but something is missing. You know, this data is important, but it's of no use if we are not saving it. So how do we go about saving it? Now, this is where many people make the mistake. You cannot crack or get the WPA handshake if you're not saving the data. You need to save the data. You need to save it, well, wherever you choose to save it. I'm going to save it on my desktop, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So we want to hit Control C to stop that, and we need to clear this out. But before that, make sure you copy your BSS ID and the channel, because we're going to need it again. Except this time we're just going to save it or output the results to a file. Alright, let's clear this up. And I'm going to change my working directory into my desktop. And there we are. So now let me just clear that up, and we can get started now. Alright. We are going to be saving the data that we're logging into a file, a capture file or a .cap file, which can then be used, which can then be analyzed by tools like Wireshark. But we are really focused on using Aircrack to capture the WPA handshake and then crack it. Okay. So I know the video is getting a bit long, but I just want to cover everything here. Excellent. So now we're going to use aerodump-ng, same commands. All right. Aerodump-ng. And we're going to specify the BSS ID. So I'm going to paste the BSS ID. That's the router access point, the access point MAC address. And we're going to select the channel, which was channel, the channel number was 2. All right. And now we need to select the show ACK. All right. You might be wondering, what the hell does that mean? Well, this is just going to show us the acknowledgement packets. If you've learned about networking, you know that we have your acknowledgement packets. So this is going to show us the acknowledgement packets, and then we want to write the output, or the whatever data is being captured, to a file name. So we select a file name. Let's just call it WPA results, or actually let's just call it log, because we're logging the data. And then we need to select our interface name. All right. So LAN 0 mon in monitor mode. All right. So let me explain. So we're saying aerodump-ng. I want you to focus on this access point, which is, we have provided the BSS ID, and the channel, which is on channel 2. We now want to show the acknowledgement packets, and we want to log all the data into this file called WPA log, and it's going to automatically save it into different file formats. The file format that we're interested in is the .capture format. All right, and we've selected the interface that we want to use. So I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to start capturing. It's going to start capturing all the data, and it's going to be saving it into a capture file on our desktop, as you can see right here. So if we look at the file, you can see it saved it in 4 formats. We have a .netxml, CSV format, and a .capture extension, which essentially means it's a captured network or traffic. So now, as you can see, it's currently running and it's still capturing data. So you might be asking, should we actually stop it? No, I want you to keep this running. And what we're going to do is I'm going to open up another terminal. I'm going to leave this running here. Actually, we're going to leave that running. Make sure you leave it running, because we need it to be constantly capturing data and saving it to this file. Okay, so now we need to open up a new terminal, and now we need to perform a deauthentication attack. You might be a little bit confused and you might be wondering, what is a deauthentication attack? Well, this essentially is an attack where we send deauthentication packets pretending to be a client on the network to the access point in the hopes that we can get a handshake from the access point. Remember, we're not actually connected to the network, so getting a handshake is very important. And the way we can do this is by performing a deauthentication attack to one of the clients connected to the network. So again, make sure you select a client that is active on the network. So right now the most active client is this one on the top, but I want to use my Nexus device because that's the most accessible to me. All right, so this is the MAC address of my Nexus device. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you copy that MAC address. All right, so just copy it, and now you want to go into the other terminal instance. Make sure you don't stop this one, and you need to start entering the following commands. All right, so we're going to use airplay ng. All right, so airplay ng, it also belongs to the Aircrack suite. Airplay ng. And now we need to select 0, which means we're using a deauthentication attack. Now we need to specify the amount of the deauthentication packets we want to send. Now, if your wireless network or the wireless network that you're trying to get the WPA handshake is quite far away from you, then you want to increase the amount of deauthentication packets you want to send so that there is minimal packet loss. And if there is packet loss, you're constantly sending so that there's a higher chance of you getting the WPA handshake. So usually I would specify, if it's quite near you, about 20 deauthentication packets. And then now you need to select the access point MAC address, which you just specify, which is right here. So we just hit Ctrl+C and we can paste that in there. And now you need to specify the client MAC address. So you can just select a random client on the network, one that is sending more data preferably. So let's copy that and we paste that in there. And now we need to essentially specify our interface that we want to use, which is LAN 0 mon in monitor mode, and hit enter. All right. Now when I hit enter, it's going to start sending the deauthentication packets to the router, which is essentially going to disconnect the client that you've just selected, the MAC. It's going to disconnect it from the network temporarily until all the deauthentication packets have been sent. So I'm going to hit enter, and as you can see, it's going to start sending the deauthentication packets. And once it's done, what should happen here is, as you can see, it started sending them, and for some reason, well, actually, it should have actually sent them by now, and for some reason we're getting an error here. There we are, it's still running, it's still sending, and as you can see, we have captured the WPA handshake right here. And once we have this, you can start using Aircrack ng to crack it. So I'll show you how to do that right now. What you can do is, once the deauthentication packets have been sent, as right here, for some reason we were experiencing packet loss. So it sent quite a few more because there was packet loss, and there we are. You can see that it has sent the deauth packet, and once that is done, it will give you the ability to capture the WPA handshake while this is still running. So it's captured the WPA handshake in the .capture file here. Okay, now this may seem a bit confusing, but once we have the WPA handshake, we can now use Aircrack to crack it. All right, but I'm going to show you a better way of doing it. You can use Aircrack ng, and you'll be limited to using a brute force attack or a dictionary attack. Now, I'll show you how to do this with an awesome framework in my mind, and I'll show you what it's called. That framework is called the Airgeddon framework. All right, so I will have the link in the description. You can find it on GitHub. And the reason I like this is because it keeps everything centralized, and I'll be showing you the great amount of attacks that you can perform. Alright, so open the link in the description. It is the GitHub repository. So just clone the repository. I'm just going to copy the URL right over here. If it doesn't copy, just copy it manually. And again, I'm going to save this to my desktop. So cd desktop git clone. And I'm going to paste it in there, the URL, and let it clone. It's quite a large file, I would say, so give it a few seconds to copy. Again, please pardon my internet connection. I know it isn't the most favorable connection right now, but it shouldn't take too much time to get all the files. So let that complete downloading, and I know the video is getting a bit long, but as I said, I want to cover everything in this video. Okay, so let that complete downloading, and hopefully it isn't affecting anything here. I'm waiting. In the meanwhile, I can show you that you can use Aircrack ng to actually crack the file here. So what I'll do is I'll show you Aircrack ng. If you want to start cracking the WPA handshake, Aircrack ng, you now need to specify the capture file which we used over here. So in order to do that, well, I would have to actually say cd desktop, and there we are. So I say aircrack ng, crack ng, and I select the file which is WPA log1.capture, and then I select .capture. I select the word list file, which I'll use the rocku word list, which is in user share word lists, and the rocku.txt.gz, and probably it will not work. As I said, as you can see here, it only went through, it essentially performed a dictionary attack. Now this is what I was talking about. The chances of you cracking it after you've captured the handshake, because again, not enough data has been captured, you'll probably have to leave this running for about a week. That's what people don't want to understand. There is no 5-minute hack. Well, there is, and I'll be showing you that in a few seconds. That's why I'm actually downloading airgeddon. Well, I'll explain why this, we have only captured one handshake, and if we kept the data running, which means if I would have kept the other terminal that was capturing the data, and we kept on sending deauthentication attacks, and we captured maybe 10 handshakes, then we could have actually performed the brute force or the dictionary attack. But this is a very old way of doing it, and the chances of you cracking the password are, to be honest, quite low. I would say you have about a 10% chance of getting the access point key. Okay, so we're just going to close this up, and hopefully airgeddon has been downloaded. Awesome. So if I list the files, yeah, we want to go into airgeddon. Let me list the files in there. There we are. We have the airgeddon executable, which is currently set to be not executable, so we have to change permissions. So chmod +x and airgeddon .shell. I'm going to list the files there, and we're going to launch it. So airgeddon, and we're going to launch it there, and it's going to open up airgeddon. Now this is a fantastic tool, and I'm going to show you right now how you can actually go about doing stuff. So I'm going to hit enter to continue, and it's going to start checking for the essential tools. Now don't worry if you're missing a few tools like hashcat or bettercap. Well, hashcat is very important in the event you want to use GPU cracking, which most of you have actually recommended, and I'll be actually going through that, using rainbow tables. I'm actually finding a quadro GPU, which is the best one, as they're more in tune with performing more enterprise type GPU calculations. So I'll be getting to that in another video, but for now, just make sure that you have the most important things like Reaver and Bully, all that good stuff installed. You have Crunch, Ettercap. Bettercap is not that important. It's important if you're performing an evil to an attack. That being said, let's not waste any time. Let me just hit enter, and it's going to check for a new version. And if it doesn't find one, just hit enter to continue. And now it's going to ask you to select an interface to work with. I'm using Ethernet and my LAN 0 mon, which is already in monitor mode. So I'm just going to select the second one. And now the awesome thing is here, you can see it's going to give you a menu, and it's going to say the interface is LAN 0 mon selected, mode is monitor, supported bands is 2.4 gigahertz. And the great thing is you can select another interface. You can also put the interface in monitor mode, and you can put it back into managed mode. This is the thing I love about it. It just makes everything a whole lot easier. Now you can see the attack types that we have here are very, very enticing. You have your DOS attacks menu, which essentially perform a denial of service to a specific access point. This is great for, trolling. You can also perform denial of service attacks to devices on the network, even if you're not connected to them. So you can see how much damage this can cause. And one of the great things, as I don't know whether I actually shared that video with you guys, but there was using one DEF CON video, or when I was watching one of the DEF CON videos, there's a guy who was actually able to just perform a denial of service to a drone that he was not even connected to. So his neighbor actually used to really bug him with the drone, flying around, spying on people using, through their windows. And that drone actually had its own WPA network connection between the drone and the controller. And obviously, because he's not connected to it, he was able to quickly scan it and then specify that network. And then the client, being the remote controller, was able to perform denial of service to the controller, which means that the drone was no longer in his control, and you can guess the amount of damage that can cause. That being said, let's stop wasting time. If you want to perform your own handshake, if you want to capture your own handshake, this can also be done with airgeddon. So let's actually do that right now. So let's hit 5, and now it's going to say well, the most important thing you need to do right now is you need to explore targets, which means you need to specify the network that you want to capture the handshake on. In this case, we're just going to hit 4 to start exploring for targets. And it's going to say WPA filter enabled in scan. Here, just hit Control C to stop. So I'm going to hit enter and it's going to start capturing the network, and I'm going to hit Control C, and it's captured the network that we want to target. And this displays the information much better. You have your BSSID, the channel, power, encryption, and the ESSID, which is the most important information. Alright, so it's going to say only one target detected. Remember, if you have any other, it's going to give you the number so you can select it from there. And I'm going to hit continue. So it's selected Alexis Broadlink, and it's going to give you more information about it up there. Now we need to capture the handshake, which is here. So we can say 5 to capture the handshake. So let's hit 5, and I'm going to hit enter to continue. Alright, and now it's going to ask us what type of deauthentication attack you want to perform. I usually like the deauthentication, the attack that is done with AirPlay, or you can use the disassociation attack that is performed by MDK3, which is not that effective, to be honest, especially against newer routers. So deauthentication AirPlay attack. So I'm going to select the second option, and I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to hit continue, and it's going to start performing the deauth attack, as you can see here. There we are, deauth, and you have to wait now until the deauthentication package has been sent and you were able to capture a WPA handshake. Alright, so apparently we were not able to capture a handshake, and yeah, we did. There we are, we were able to capture a handshake. So now it's going to ask you, did you get the handshake? It's going to say, look at the top right corner of the capture window. Yes, we were able to capture a handshake. So I'm going to hit yes. Congratulations. Type the path to store the file or press enter to accept the default proposal. So it's going to save it in root handshake, and it's going to give it its own name. So I'm going to hit enter. Alright, so the path is valid and you have right permissions. Script can continue. So you want to hit enter to continue. And now you can go on and clean or optimize the handshake file, which we don't need to do right now because again, we have not captured a lot of data. So now we can finally go back to the main menu. And we can see, we can look at the offline WPA2 decrypt menu, which is where we can perform the cracking. So I'm going to hit 6. And now, you can see if you have Hashcat installed, you can use Hashcat to, well, it's going to use your central processing unit or your processor. And if you have a bad processor, then it's going to take a while. But I'll be showing you how to do it with Hashcat. If you want that tutorial, just comment down below and I'll be sure to do it. You then have your non-GPU attacks. Again, Aircrack NG is the best option here. Now, what I would recommend is that you go for the Aircrack plus Crunch. This will perform a brute force attack. Dictionary attacks will only test the current combinations that exist within the word list or the password list. All right. So I would recommend that you go for option 2, which is Aircrack plus Crunch, and this has about a 60% of cracking the key, in my opinion. Now, again, you might need to leave it on for a few days, and some of you might be thinking, what the hell, man? That's way too long. And the truth is, if you want to crack a network, that's how you do it, using the WPA handshake. All right, so I'm going to hit 2. And do you want to use this already selected capture file? So it's going to ask you if you want to use the capture file that was captured during the session. I'm going to hit yes. And you already have selected a BSSID. Do you want to, and it is present in the capture file, do you want to use this BSSID? Of course we do. What is the minimum length of the key to decrypt? Alright, so now it's going to ask you to specify, just in your own opinion, what you would expect the minimum length of the key is. In my opinion, I would say the minimum is 8, because not many Wi-Fi keys, Wi-Fi routers are going to let you set a key that is, or a password that is below 8 characters. Alright, so I'm going to hit 8, and the maximum, I would say, no one has a Wi-Fi password that is over 20 or actually 15. So I would go about 15, and I'm going to hit enter. Now the most important thing, because it's using Crunch to generate your own type of word list dependent on what you would specify. Now most people would usually go for lowercase and numeric characters, or a combination of lowercase plus uppercase and numeric characters. In my opinion, I've set the password to be quite easy, which involves lowercase plus numerical characters. So I'm going to select option 6. You can go and select whatever you want. It's going to just generate it automatically with Crunch. So I'm going to hit 6. and it's going to start the decryption process. And as you can see, the character set that it's going to be using is ABCD, the alphabet, and your numerical characters. I'm going to hit enter. It's going to start generating the word list with crunch, and crunch will now generate, and the cracking process has begun. So again, there you are. It will use Aircrack NG to do it for you automatically with your own word list. This is the best part about it, is the word list can be specified to account for the type of characters you would expect in a modern Wi-Fi password. So again, you can see that this is going to take, it's going to take a while. So I would recommend that you leave this on for about 2 days. In my opinion, it takes about 3 to 4 days for a Wi-Fi password that has 8 to about 15 characters. Again, not that complex. If they are symbols, then it gets even more complex. So you can let this run, and once you're done, it'll give you the key. If you're lucky, as I said, the chance of this working is 60% if you've specified the right character set. If you've specified a wrong character set, then it'll all go down the drain. So I'm just going to Control-C and let it just end. Don't worry if it gives you this weird thing, and it's going to ask you interruption detected. You really want to exit? I'm going to hit yes. And do you want to preserve monitor mode? Yes, I want to preserve it. I don't want to turn it off. All right, so now let's look at the WPS. All right, the WPS attack. Now this is one of the most effective attacks, and I'll explain why. Most people who buy routers have the WPS feature enabled, and they do not disable it. What does WPS mean? What does it mean? WPS essentially stands for Wi-Fi protected setup. All right. Now you might be asking, how does this work? You might have heard of it. Well, WPS has a WPS pin. All right. The WPS pin, well, essentially WPS only works for wireless networks that use a password. And what this means is WPS essentially allows you to connect using the WPS button on your router, and essentially deals with a key or a pin. All right. So cracking the WPS pin is essentially, it's an 8-digit pin that even if your router does not have the access point does not have the WPS button, you can still crack it, and that will crack the password for you using an authentication attack. All right. So usually people leave it on. Now the great thing about a WPS pin is once you crack it, once you get that pin, the network is yours for life. It's yours for life. That's because you can never ever change the WS pin. In older routers, in modern ones, they've actually allowed you to do it. But most people won't even know that it was cracked using the WS pin, the WPS pin. All right. So I'm going to show you how to do that with airgeddon. So let's launch airgeddon again. All right. And I'm going to hit enter. And let it start airgeddon again. And I know the video is getting quite long, but I just wanted to cover everything here. I'm going to hit enter. All right, let it just scan for the tools. I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to check for a new version. I know this is the latest version. I'm going to hit continue again. And I'm going to select my interface, which is already in monitor mode. And I'll go straight for the WPS attacks menu. Remember, you can also go for WEP if you're using that type of encryption. If you're lucky to find a network that has WEP, crack it immediately. That's a once in a lifetime experience if you actually even find one. I remember once finding one at a restaurant, but I didn't have my laptop with me, so I had to pass on that. Alright, that being said, you can go for your WPS attacks menu, which is 8, and we're going to be using Bully. The reason I'm using Bully is because Reaver is not that powerful. Even if you're performing the same type of attack, which is a pixie dust attack, you can also use Bully to perform what I would call a brute force pin attack. That if you have a good word list that has some of the most common pins, the WS pins, then that can also work as well. But in my mind, this works the best. All right, so we're going to go for option 7, which is Bully. We're going to be performing a pixie dust attack. Now, before that, we have to actually select our network. Again, remember, we have to always select our network. So I'm going to hit option 4, and it's going to start capturing. And immediately once I capture it, we should be good. So there we are. It started capturing, and once it captures my Wi-Fi network, for some reason it's not capturing any network here, WPS networks. Let me just see if my Wi-Fi, if my access point is currently open here, is currently online. Let me get back to you once I've checked whether it's online. All right, so just give me a few seconds here. Alright, sorry about that guys. For some reason it was just taking a while to load up and I was just waiting for it here. Anyway, sorry, let me just open up the emulator here. You can see that it has captured that network, and let me just explain the results here. I'll probably have to zoom this in because the text is really small. Okay, so it's using WASH to scan for networks, and this is the network that we're going to be performing the exploit on, or we're going to be cracking the WPS pin. You can see that it is using WPS version 2, and if a WPS is locked, it's going to also show you here, and if it's locked, then you can't use this attack. Alright, so make sure that it's not locked, and you'll be surprised. I can actually guarantee you. I want you to try this out. Let's say when you're at home, I just want you to scan the networks around you. Let's say there are 10 networks, probably your neighbors. I can guarantee you 5 of them can be exploited with the Pixie Dust attack. Okay? That being said, let me just open up, let me just hit Control C, because once we're done capturing, we just hit Control C and we go back into Airgeddon. As you can see, only one target was detected. It is going to be auto-selected. I'm going to hit Continue. And now we can perform the Bully Pixie Dust attack. So I'm going to hit 7, perform the Bully Pixie Dust attack. I'm going to hit Enter. You have Bully version 1.1 installed. Press Enter to continue. The BSS ID is set, the channel is set. Now you need to select the value in seconds for the Pixie Dust timeout if the connection cannot be made. By default, it will tell you to use 30 seconds. I also recommend 30 seconds. However, if you're further away from the access point, I would, because of packet loss, I would recommend changing it to something about 100 or 200. That's if you're really far and you have, really poor signal strength. I'm going to hit Enter, and all the parameters are set, and it's going to say it's going to say starting attack. When started, press Ctrl+C to stop. So I'm going to hit Enter to start it, and there we are. It's going to start the Pixie Dust attack, and there we are. For some reason, it looks like it has got the it's captured a handshake here, and it's performing the Pixie Dust attack with Bully. So let it just perform, and there you are. The pin has been cracked, and the password has been cracked. How about that? I think this is the first video on YouTube that actually has actually shown that it is possible using different vectors, for example, like the WPS with Bully. Alright, so you can see it captured the WS pin, it captured the key, the Wi-Fi key, which as you can see is Alexis12345. Now that's what most people do. Now again, most of you are sitting there saying, well, that's a simple password. But remember, it did not crack the password. It was able to authenticate with the network with the pin and then get the Wi-Fi key. It got the BSS ID and the SSID, and there we are, pin cracked, password cracked. And there you go, That's how to actually perform or exploit WPA using the handshake capture method, and how to use WPS Pixie Dust attack using Bully. You can also perform Reaver, but Reaver will most likely give you errors. Alright, so once I'm done, let me just actually close this up. Ctrl+C. We can close the window, and we should be back into Airgeddon. And once that's done, you're essentially done. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I know I took this video a bit too long, but I just wanted to show you every aspect of it. And I'll also be moving into using Hashcat and GPU cracking, which is very effective, especially when trying to crack the handshake, which you can save and then crack it even if you're not near the Wi-Fi network. That being said, I hope you found value in this video. If you did, please leave a like down below. If you have any questions or suggestions, let me know in the comment section, or you can hit me up on my social networks. You can also check out my website for the latest hacking news, resources, tools, all that good stuff, hexploit.com, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Peace.